If you've ever raised kids, you know that dealing with feelings is a touchy subject. Heck, if you have to deal with adults, feelings are a difficult subject. What if you didn't have to feel the fear of living in the last days? I raised 4 kids, and I gave each of them this lesson when they got to be that emotional age. Actions cause feelings, and when we have feelings we don't like, actions will change those feelings. It was really hard for them to get that, considering that the world teaches us that if we feel something, we have to follow that feeling. We have to follow our heart. You know, the Bible says the heart is deceptively wicked. Doesn't sound like something we should follow. But we do live in an era where feelings rule, and if you feel, therefore you are, and you can't do anything to get out of it. That's why we have to be depressed and be in fear when we see the news every day, right? Well, I mean, if that were true, God would have never said what he said in Revelation when he told us the secret to living in joy in the end times. I was so excited to take my little boy on Space Mountain for the very first time. He was 3 cars in front of me in the pitch black roller coaster. And as soon as we hit the first hill, I heard him scream. Not the normal scream, a terrifying shriek. Instantly, I remembered a news story that had come out just a couple weeks ago about a small child on that same ride that had had a heart attack from fear. And my little mama's heart freaked out. I knew that he was terrified because he couldn't see where he was going. He didn't know what was coming up. He couldn't see me, and he didn't know how it was going to end. And to be honest, that's the way I feel sometimes at this time in history. It's overwhelming to watch the news. The times are darker and darker. It's hard to see what's ahead. And if I allow myself to get too busy, too wrapped up in life that I can't see God, I can get terrified pretty quick. Then I heard the shriek. Not fear, but terror. How could I possibly let him know not to be afraid? I go back and forth between 2 feelings generally. One is pure giddiness at the idea that I'm going to get to see God. I'm going to meet Jesus. I'm going to come watch Armageddon in the clouds with them and the gazillion other things that are coming up. And pure terror when I see what's happening in the world all over the place. And I think of my loved ones who don't know God. There are 4 things that have really helped me to hang on to the joy and the anticipation and let go of the sheer terror. I hope they'll help you too. When my son was on that roller coaster, the first thought I had was, is he anchored down? And I replayed in my head what it looked like when they pulled the bar down. Did they check it? Tightening down to our anchor is the number one thing we need right now. God told us this time was coming. Almost an entire 1/3 of the Bible talks about the last days. If he created the world and everything in it, then he can hold us through it. The next thing that went through my head on that roller coaster was, what is the plan? How long is this ride? Where are we going to meet up afterwards? How do I make sure this doesn't scare him for the rest of his life? And remembering God's plan through these times has been really beneficial too. Every single event that's going on in our earth today is part of the plan. When God created the first earth, he had a perfect plan that depended on an imperfect creature. And when sin entered the world, God had a plan the entire time to redeem it. He knew that sin had corrupted the earth so much that it was going to be necessary to do the things laid out in Revelation. None of these scary things are happening by accident. When I heard the terror in my son's voice, it immediately terrified me. Trying not to sound afraid, I called out to him, "It's okay. I've got you. I'm right behind you. I know you can't see, but this ride is going to end really soon, and I'm going to see you right outside. It's almost over." And I repeated it over and over, trying to calm myself down just as much. Refocusing our attention on the soon-coming future is really important in scary times. I sustained some serious brain damage years ago, which resulted in years with different neurologists. But it was so fascinating what I learned about the brain. First of all, I found out I was right in what I told my kids. Feelings are always a result of actions, ours or somebody else's. But the way our brain works is that when we feel something, if we will act in an opposite way, an opposite feeling will result. That is the way God built our brain to work. So when I start to get freaked out again about how this world has gone wrong, how it doesn't even seem recognizable anymore, how I don't want this to be the world that my grandchildren are in, God helps me to replace those feelings with thoughts of my new home. I wonder if this will be there. I wonder if it'll be like that. We know that the millennium will be a time of service, of activity, of using the skills that God implanted in us in this world in an unlimited way. What do you imagine doing? You and I can't do anything about what's going on in this world. That's in God's hands, but that's also in God's plans. But we can and we should be thinking about the end of the plan. I was crying through most of that roller coaster ride with my son. I was really terrified for him. And I think for the whole last half, I just kept saying, we're almost there. It's almost over. It's almost over. We're almost there. My son's a grown man now, but I have never seen him as terrified as I did that day. When he got out of the roller coaster, he said, "It's okay. I knew it was going to end." We have every right to be terrified right now, but it is going to end. It very well may not be the rapture that is the end of our days on this earth. If we look at all the other things going on, all the other mysterious passing away, people are meeting their end at a rate never seen before on earth. I may not make it to the rapture. So if we know we are leaving soon, what is the action that we need to take today? We need to tidy up loose ends. That means love. That means repairing relationships. That means loving people more. I only know what it's like to almost die. I had end-stage sepsis, and they had brought my husband in to say goodbye to me, and God said, not yet, and I haven't been the best sport about that. But one of the things that I automatically did different when I was able to, I became a hugger. I hugged relatives that I knew hated it. I told people I loved them. We are leaving soon. It's time to hug more. It's also time to invest in others, to share our story, to share our excitement, to share how we're dealing with all of this. And maybe most importantly, we need to make sure that nobody steals our joy. We know that now is bad, but we know that very, very soon our God will return. He will win, and we will be with him in a place that is void of everything that has gone wrong. And I, for one, can't wait to meet you on the other side.